Coffee with Crime and Sugar by Shakespeare on AO3. Episode 12, Chapter 4. Not even finishing an exhausting but rewarding job leaves him this floaty. But that interaction that he had with Murasaki earlier had left him feeling airy and relaxed. Which is crazy because Izuku had literally been on the edge about the guy for days on end because of well, you know. It's such a bad idea to pine for the cute guy next door, even though he's been doing it ever since laying eyes on him. Even more so because of the danger of getting mixed up with all the things that a hitman does. There's too many risks. Not to mention that if things don't work out, Murasaki will have no qualms stuffing Izuku out of existence. What a morbid thing to think about. Even more than imagining all the horrible aspects, all, of his neighbor's job. He and Murasaki had exchanged numbers before Izuku had gone back upstairs. It was a bold move. The other man had simply telling Izuku to give him his number. It wasn't pushy, but it was still odd. Izuku still wants to bring up why Murasaki doesn't like asking things. But he needs to find a way to bring it up naturally. Still, it was kind of charming that the other had texted him as soon as Izuku left to get ready for work. The message no more than a good luck at that terrible little company, accompanied by, oh dear, a winky face. The true terrible thing is that Izuku's not going to be able to get anything done. His mind will definitely be focused on other things, and not just the stuff straight out of a crime documentary either. He tries to clear his head a bit, while stretching before his run. The pull on his muscles, only a brief distraction. It'll be better, no doubt, with the breeze through his hair and his heart racing for a reason that has nothing to do with his neighbor. And then he'll sit at a desk at that crammy company and silently seethe just like every time he's there. Easy peasy. Murasaki is not in the cafe when Izuku passes by to head out, but he doesn't try and guess where he's off to. If anything, he'll hear from him again, whether via text or in person, since they're acquaintance now? Or maybe Murasaki will try to call Izuku instead. That would be dire if it were to happen. That horrible, beautiful voice right in his ear. Maybe he could whisper sweet nothings to Izuku if he asked nicely. The brisk air on his face cuts out any of the warm thoughts that dare to start again as Izuku sets off. Maybe he'll sprint all the way there for a good burn, but then it'll be over sooner, and he's not too keen on getting to that dreadful place in any sort of hurry. His legs get that pleasant burn, his breaths coming out timed and precise. The city becomes a blur that dims as he draws near the harboring district. The shadow is more present than anything else. There's no one ever up to good here. Blind spots and dark corners, faulty street lamps, and grabby security. And a company that does not give at least of a fraction of shit about its employees. Izuku loathes coming here, and he knows without a shadow of a doubt that he's easy picking for a target. That is, if he forgets his EDD, which he never does. A brief thought pops into his mind on if Murasaki ever comes to sketchy spots like this. For leisure, definitely not. But for a job. Izuku shakes his head. Thinking of Murasaki will do him no good, even if it's been something to get him through this shift. Izuku sighs when his workplace is now in sight. He wishes he had a good, non-murdery thing to take his mind off of this. It's late when he clocks out, and the air outside is cold and moist. For a job that has him not doing much, aside gathering incriminating evidence, for hours, it sure is draining. He doesn't even want to run back home, or even jog. It would be nice to listen to music while leisurely walking back to his apartment, but even he knows that's a horrible idea to consider. Alone in a shady area at night with his hearing compromised? Yeah, right. No thank you. He briefly considers stopping at the cafe for a dessert. To go. He sacrificed all of his home-baked goods to his next-door neighbor yesterday. They'll definitely still be open, despite it being late. But he thinks against it, right after. He needs decompression time, and socializing isn't something that he wants to do tonight. Not that he does it much any other time. It's a lot less cozy when the shadows are traded for bright advertisements and streetlights, and he lets himself relax the smallest amount. He's definitely had quite the week. Between finding out that Murasaka's profession and being too close for comfort around said man, he's sure that all of his worrying that he's been doing is strong enough to power a small town. When he makes it to the building, he passes by the cafe, peering in as he enters, and heading towards the elevator. There's not many people there, but one person does catch Izuku's eyes. Murasaki, although facing Izuku where he's sitting, does not pay him any mind. Eyes down and absorbed in whatever he's typing away on his laptop. He seems engrossed, eyebrows scrunching in a focused type way. Very in the zone. Izuku gets that way sometimes, when he's working on a particularly challenging case. Maybe that's the same with the other man. Izuku gets on the elevator and presses the door for his floor. The door takes their time closing, and lifts is even slower. It gives him too much time. He wonders if Murasaki's job is actually freelance, or if he has a boss of sorts. Maybe there's a contract company he works for and he has to make reports after each mission. The elevator dings, and the door opens. He gets off on his floor, fishing out his keys and unlocking the deadbolt when he gets to his apartment door. When he steps inside, he shuts the thing and rolls his shoulders back to drop the backpack he carries with him onto the floor with a quiet thud. He doesn't want to do anything else tonight. Hell, even making himself dinner seems like a drag, especially once he collapses onto the couch and finds that he doesn't want to get up. Maybe if Izuku sleeps for a few years, then Murasaki will be bored and move away. But then again, Izuku still isn't sure why the other seems to be interested in him at all. It would be too embarrassing to ask, surely, but that almost kiss is still so fresh in his mind. The feeling of warm breath on his lips, a callous hand cupping his cheeks, of him feeling wanted. His face starts to feel warm, but he still doesn't get up, finding himself dozy. He doesn't need to cook dinner for himself. He'll just heat something of the porridge that his neighbor had brought yesterday, even if the taste of it will remind him of last night. Not that he could forget. Trust him? He's been trying to. He lets out a tired sigh, his eyelids heavy and drooping. He does them a favor and lets them slide shut. For just a few minutes. 5 minutes of rest, and then he'll get up and reheat the leftovers. Maybe browse the message boards to see if there's a distracting job to keep his mind busy. Right. Okay, just 5 minutes. That's all his eyes need right now. Though, maybe his eyes need more. Or his brain. Or his muscles. Or all three. And something else too. Because he's aroused after not even knowing when the exact moment was that he fell asleep. A muffled noise coming from somewhere. His eyes feel crusty and gross when he blinks them open, staring at the ceiling. He must have been out for a while, then. It takes a bit for things to come back into focus, but when they do, he recognizes that the noise that had awoken him were coming from next door in Murasaki's apartment. Izuku sits up a bit, straining to hear. It sounds like Murasaki is talking to someone, and judging by how loud it is, enough to somewhat be understandable, and that he sounds not happy, it's probably something serious. I've already said it before. That's a horrible idea. Murasaki's angry voice says to someone. There's no second voice, so he's probably on the phone. Or something. What's a horrible idea? Izuku sits up fully, his head inching closer to the wall his couch is up against. This obviously might not be the best idea. Eavesdropping on a hitman, but well, his curiosity had always been one hell of a thing. He presses his ears up against the cold wall. I said no. You're forgetting who has the final say in things. And it sure as hell isn't you. Murasaki sees out. There's huffing, an angry grumble here and there. Perhaps he's talking to a client. Maybe it's a job that he refused to take. Or there's circumstances of it that he needs to go around. Maybe Murasaki is a specific kind of hitman. One who has certain rules or something. I said no. The man on the other side of the wall repeats, his tone sounding like he simply wants to hang up the call. I'm not going to. He stops, and Izuku hates that he can't hear what the other person on the line is saying to the man, but he knows that it's obviously not something that pleases Murasaki. What? Izuku's much too startled by the sheer volume and rage to process that the man had actually asked a question, though it's theoretical, seeing as he's continuing on. I'm not killing him. He's too important. Murasaki argues, sounding enraged. There's a sudden cold sweat over Izuku, making him clammy, and most noticeably, uneasy. Who's too important? Who won't he kill? There's something sinister stirring in his stomach, making him cold and queasy. This one-sided argument isn't making a lot of sense, but in between the poorly muffled words, he starts to put pieces together he wouldn't have even guessed would fit in the first place. Murasaki had moved into this building, right next to Izuku, and despite Izuku seeming plain, uninteresting, and a bit of a dull conversationalist, the other man had still seemed adamant to get close to him and gain his trust. Oh God. Izuku pulls his ear away from the wall abruptly, as if the thing had slapped all his body heat, his heart starting racing wildly like it might break a rib, and breathing comes out fast and shallow. He's the target. Izuku has a hitman after him. Okay. Wow. Part of me wants to read ahead. I'll be honest with y'all. It's getting harder and harder not to read ahead. Also, I don't know what's happening with my voice, but as I'm talking, I realized it in this recording specifically. As I'm talking, there's like a pain at the back of my throat. Like air hitting it. It's really weird. So those weird pauses are me drinking water. I'm good. I'm taking care of myself. I'm taking breaks. But, I might be coming down with something. And, you might not have videos. I'm gonna be honest with you. Because my mom, she was sick. And from one day to the next, her voice was groggy. And it was really hard to understand. So if my voice becomes like that, I'm unfortunately not going to be able to record, obviously. And you guys are going to run out of videos. You're going to run out of videos. Yeah. And this time I'm not going to advance the videos like that. I'm just going to wait till the grogginess goes away. But hopefully that doesn't happen. Fingers crossed. I really hope that doesn't happen. Because if it does happen, I only have a certain amount of days. And you might run out. That's why I'm saying you're not. I'm not saying like you're gonna run out of videos. I'm saying you might. It's not 100% sure that you're gonna run out of videos, but or 100% sure that you're not gonna run out of videos. But it's not like I have a month ahead of time where it's like, okay, it doesn't matter if I get sick for a week, 2 weeks, I'll be good. It's one of those like, okay, if I get sick, you might get out of videos. But okay, onto this fanfic. But oh my god, what is this? Izuku, I hate to break it to you. Or not I hate to break it to you. Good news. No, he's not a hitman. But clearly I can tell that Murasaki is probably talking with his editor. I don't have an editor, but I can understand. I have a beta reader. I have beta readers. Anybody in the Discord, you're my beta readers. But I have certain people. I think in the past, when I was writing a fanfic, not a fanfic, I was writing a story, like an actual story. I had my beta reader, I guess, would be my friends, and also this one guy in my class, in my English class, right? And he was adamant that this one character, like, needed to die, this other character needed to live, and I'm like, it makes no sense. Because, like, back then I was writing a horror story where, like, almost all the characters die at the end, right? Except he wanted the main protagonist to die, not in the way he did, but die sooner than... And I'm like, no, it doesn't work out. The whole point is that he dies at the end writing the story. If he dies before that, my whole writing the story falls out of place. I would need to rewrite the first chapter. I would have to rewrite the first chapter, and I'm not going to do that. So I remember I got into a whole argument with that person because it's like, really? I'm not going to do that. It's not going to happen, right? And so I understand Murasaka's stuff. So probably the whole, I can't kill him off, he's too important. He's probably writing a book, and the editor's like, hey, you should kill this character off. And he's like, no, I can't kill this character off. Like, they're important to the plotline stuff, except Izuku's not getting the other side of the story, right? They're not getting the other person talking the phone. And if they would have heard something along the lines of like, hey, you need to kill so-and-so. It would be better for the plot, or it would be better for the story. It would be better for the audience, right? And that would give Izuku the, oh, hold up, they're not, oh, wait, maybe he's not a hitman. But unfortunately, no, Izuku decided to just choose to hear certain things and not the whole thing. But it's alright, it's fine. It's hilarious, it's what it is. Okay. As always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Link to my Discord server and socials are down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.